Oh my God. Aloha, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope this is working. I am doing a semi impromptu live stream for you all after we've had quite a weekend where we've had a beautiful amount of disruption and letting go and shedding of the bullshit with capital that is getting deployed in a way that's not very safe for you. So, I wanted to bring this up. So, Bitcoin is a tool for freedom. It is a tool. I call it a love go up tool. Some people talk about Bitcoin as a number go up tool. Some people talk about it as a freedom go up tool. If we were going to have a safe, happy, healthy, harmonious planet for everybody to participate in, we need to have the consciousness raised to a higher vibration. And I'm not being hippity dippity doodah here. Okay. This is something that's extremely important for those of you who are on a mission to make the world a better place. And until I discovered Bitcoin, I was always, so I have this like my 11x love code and my program and the things that I'm doing and working on. There was always a missing ingredient. There was a missing, I'm going to take these off because they're shining on you. There was a missing variable in this equation of this 11x. And I'm somebody who's started businesses. I'm a co-founder of different businesses. My ex-husband and I started stuff. He was, of course, the super genius of certain things, but I'm the visionary, creative. So God bless him. And I worked at Deloitte and Touche, everything. I always knew that money was a certain thing that we all had to have, but as a creative, as an artist, as a philanthropist, as a holistic healer, as a spiritual woman, I always thought like money was, can't we just meditate and do some kumbaya? And what I recognized, sorry, I got to put these back on. What I recognized was yes and no. The Woodstock generation had it. They had the tune in, turn on, drop out, whatever Tim Leary said, and we wanted to create this new revolutionary state of being where the whole world could be prosperous and where everybody could thrive. Imagine if the Woodstock generation and the deadheads of the 60s and the early 70s had Bitcoin. And we don't understand the dots. We don't understand the connection between money and freedom. And a lot of people are really, really angry right now, whether you're on the left, the right, the middle, the upside down, the inside out, it doesn't matter, whatever your position is, people are fucking pissed because, they don't understand and they are being programmed from mainstream media and social media to believe the narrative that we are different, we are separate, we are against each other, and there's a we and a they and a them and an us. There's not. There's only one. And so there's one humanity. That's it. One humanity. If there were a giant flying saucer that showed up, we saw this stuff happen in New Jersey a month ago where, oh, look, there's drones. Everybody's scared. Are we getting an alien invasion? If there were truly, the Will Smith movie where there's some alien invasion and everybody wants to off the human race, guess what's going to happen to the human race? We're going to unite and we're going to figure it out. We're going to be like, yeah, let's go, survive. So why do we have to have this illusion of an external gangster villain come in to get us to rally, to be together? We don't, but that's what you've been programmed to believe. And so let's break all of this down. Okay. So I'm just having like a little Bitcoin for freedom. Yay. Truth versus lies, session. Every single thing that I say here is not financial advice. It's not medical advice. It's not legal advice. And so please consult a professional before you take action. And okay, I always got to say that stuff before I go. I was on a Twitter Spaces this weekend and I was on two of them. Well, I'll cut more than two, but anyway, there was one where it was a group of crypto people and it was 2,000 wonderful humans who are trying to go figure out how to game the system to make some money so that they can get ahead in life. It is so hard right now out there if you are a young person If you are a young person who is inheriting this shit fucked up system called fiat that is all based on debt, and right now, if you're born, okay, so today's what, February 3rd, 2025. If you are getting birthed today, guess how much debt you have? You haven't even done anything. You haven't even taken your first breath. You have over $100,000 of USD debt attached to you because of all of us old people who have played the game of debt and figuring out, like, let's kick the can down the road and print some money, which is called fiat, which is actually just monopoly money. It's fake. It's not real. It's not based on energy or anything behind it like gold or Bitcoin. And so if you are a baby today, you were born, imagine, like, when I remember I was giving birth to my kiddos and they're in the hospital and they put those the little wristbands on you as the mother and the wristband on the child so that you don't get mixed up. Imagine if they threw a wristband on that little baby and was like, hey, guess what, motherfucker? You owe $110,000. That's messed up. But that's the way the system works. So, how can we help the babies of tomorrow not be strapped with the debt of us in today? It's called Bitcoin. And so what's happening right now is a lot of people don't understand how Bitcoin is associated with freedom. They don't understand how it's associated with generational wealth, and they don't understand how it's associated with generational slavery. Generational slavery is what's happening with the fiat system. Again, I am not like some super finance person who's going to give you some in-depth analysis like the people who I love, worship, and adore, like Lynn Alden, and Preston Pish and Sam Callahan, and these people who are out there, and obviously Larry Lepard and Greg Foss, all my homies. Like, all I know is we are stuck in a system, and what's happening is we're blessed with some disruption. And people don't like disruption. People don't like change. People freak out. They're like, oh no, it's going to be scary. No, it's going to be good. It's like the only way to like turn from a seed into a tree is to break from that shell of the seed and turn into a little vine and break through the soil and turn into a giant tree. So it's not easy. And you have to trust the system, and you have to trust the system of God, nature, and spirit. And so this is where a lot of us who are um, burners and creatives and healers, we get kind of lost and stuck because we're like, oh well, we just want to do the kumbaya. Like I said, it's a good thing, but it's one of the ingredients, right? It's like the water that goes on the seed. And so there's other variables that need to happen in order to make that giant oak or maple tree grow. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And unfortunately, right now, the younger generation is getting smacked in the face 24/7, 24/7, relentless with the messaging that says, you suck. You're not good enough. You don't have enough. You're not skilled enough. Like, you have a disease called not enoughitis. Not enoughitis, okay? And you cannot escape not enoughitis because you've got this little thing right here that lives in your pocket. And so when you go take a shit, it's with you. When you're in, the waiting room at a laundromat or a doctor, or when you're in the car, you're constantly plugged into the not enoughitis device. And so the young people right now are slaves. We are slaves as older people, as adults who've created this giant mess. So I'm so sorry in advance. And I'm hoping that we can create a solution for you so that you don't have to inherit another slave system that we inherited from our ancestors. Um, and we're not talking about slaves, physical slaves, but we're talking about financial slaves and mental slaves. And so now the poor kids have got this mental slavery that literally, and I don't know who you are who's listening to this right now, if you pick up, let's just play a little game together, okay? You wake up in the morning. Hi, my name's John Smith, or my name's Sally Jones. I'm waking up. What's the first thing you do? I don't care how old you are. You grab your phone. You do this. You turn into like a little blob that like sucks your face off and it gets your attention. And so imagine a child or a teenager, a young person who doesn't have their prefrontal cortex developed, which is where your executive functioning happens. And that's all they do. They don't have the discernment to say, oh, that's just nonsense and I'm going to tune in. Like, I personally struggle with this sometimes, and I have to turn on the little, oh, you only get 15 minutes, da, da, da. And of course, I'm like, override, override, override. These poor children who don't have that strength yet that has been developed and cultivated over time are literally becoming these little malleable slaves. And unfortunately, as parents, we don't know any better, because a lot of times when our kids are struggling and they're 5 years old and we want to go out to the restaurant and we're like, oh, look, let's put on Dora the Explorer and give them the iPad and say, here you go. Just, don't scream or make noise at the restaurant because we, us adults, want to have a peaceful meal. So we accidentally, inadvertently started training our children to be babysat by digital babysitters. And we joke around like, ha ha ha. And it's like, oops, we fucked them. We fucked them so hard. Okay. And so, as somebody who wants to unfuck my own children and myself and all the children on planet Earth and for the future generations, I want us to start thinking in terms of, how the heck are we programming our minds every single day? How does this relate to Bitcoin? Again, we are navigating uh, a, a cycle of attention that has microseconds, like a cricket or a grasshopper, and you think about crickets and grasshoppers, they're just jumping all over the place. That's the attention span of a young person these days. And so if you are a multi-trillion-dollar industry, which all of these industries are, which are the pharmaceutical industries, which are the beauty industries, the chemical industries, of course, the military industrial complex, and you have the opportunity to go and program these poor children and go, how can we get their attention? And what is the biggest way to get someone's attention? Raise your hand. It's got 4 letters. 4 letters, baby. FEAR, fear. Fuck everything and run. Ooh, no, the world's on fire. I'm so scared, right? So you've either got fuck everything and run or face everything and rise. Let's go. And so what they know is human psychology, because we have a survival instinct and mechanism built within us that wants to say, if there's something scary, we have to do the thing that gives us the most chance to survive. And so instead of going and doing the most logical thing, we're going to do the most basic primal thing. And so unfortunately, people are out there doing really, really poor decision making because they're operating out of a state of fear. How can we counterbalance that for ourselves? How can we counterbalance that for our children? Well, we can start thinking in terms of long-term thinking, long-term mindset. We can think of nature. We can think of how do things blossom and grow and turn into sustainable architectures, sustainable communities, sustainable systems where not only you survive and thrive, but your next door neighbor does. And then so does the next door neighbor and the next door neighbor. What kind of systems are we building in the world if we're building the systems that completely crumble and collapse just at like a flick of oops, the wind blew? We don't want to build those kinds of systems. That's called fiat. That's called crypto. And so Bitcoin is something that is this immutable, giant, slow moving, giant network of transactions. All it is a giant immutable ledger. Okay, Val, who cares? I got to put some food on the table for my kids. I'm not feeling well. I have no energy. I only have $10 today to spend for meals for 4 of us. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? That's a common complaint I hear from people that I work with. It's a common complaint I hear from people that I interview and study. And, when I travel and I get to speak on stages all over the world, which I'm so grateful for all the folks who book me. And I know I talk fast. Fast Eddie was my daddy. Fast Eddie was my daddy, and he was an auctioneer. He was an auctioneer and he worked in the mafia. I mean, there you go. But so one of the things that is a difficult conversation, because when you're literally living hand to mouth, If you're in a hyperinflated country where you leave your house at, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work one morning, and you're like, dun, 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 I'm going to go work. I'm going to bust my ass. I'm going to go dig some shit out of the ground. And hopefully by the end of the day, I'm going to have, let's just call it $10 worth of US dollars. In the morning, you imagine that you're going to work and get those $10, and that $10 purchasing power is going to buy you, you know, uh, 2 loaves of bread and, 4, pieces of meat or something, whatever, wherever you live. And then by the end of the day, because you live in a country where your currency is so hyperinflated that quote unquote $10 is only going to buy you a half a loaf of bread and no meat. You still did the same exact amount of work, but at the end of the day, your purchasing power is not the same. This is a strange concept for those people who are in first world countries to understand. Okay. Because you wake up, you go to work, you make $100. You're like, okay, my $100 today is going to probably buy me the same thing it was going to buy me yesterday. Hyperinflation is something that is so sporadic, and you don't know what is going to happen from one day to the next because you, unfortunately, are under a regime that has the ability to inflate and deflate the money supply. And that's where inflation comes from, is by expanding the money supply, is so disempowering. So think about it mentally, from a mental and spiritual and emotional standpoint. What must it feel like to know that you're playing the game, that you're somebody who's an honest worker, you're somebody who is putting in a hard day's labor, and you're doing the thing, and you're thinking like, I played the system, whatever it is, whether it's digging a hole, whether it's, doing books for somebody, whether it's making a marketing campaign, it doesn't matter, but you're playing the game. And then at the end of the day, just one day, all that work that you put in that you thought you were going to have the same amount of reward and purchasing power, you don't get it. That's called hyperinflation. And so when you have money attached to state, okay, that's what happens. And so when we have this little thing called Bitcoin, we have this little tool that has a finite supply, only 21 million will ever be produced. And if we can ever get on a Bitcoin standard, which I hope one day we will, there will be no inflation. So that person who wakes up in the morning, who's a good person, who's a hard worker, who's a diligent human, they go and they do the thing. At the end of the day, guess what? They are going to have their expectations realized. They are going to be able to go, whoa, cool. I did my 7, 8, 9, 12 hours of work for what I think this is worth. And I'm going to be able to feed my children. I'm going to put some gas in my car. I'm able to do the things that I think I'm supposed to do because I'm playing the game of contributing to society. But right now, because the system is so rigged and people don't understand it, if you're a musician, if you're an artist, if you're creative, if you're listening to this, you know what it's like. Hopefully you're not flipping burgers at McDonald's, but chances are some of you are. Hopefully you're not out there, working in some situation where you feel like, I got to compromise my values and my integrity so that you can just get by. And maybe you have to do a couple side hustles. And that's because of inflation. And that's because of the fiat money system. And so I'm ramble. I mean, this isn't a ramble. This is like legit. You guys need to understand this stuff. It's very, 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 very important for your survival. And not only your survival, but your thriving. Okay. And I want you guys to start learning about Bitcoin if you're a creator. Okay. Just today, I had an hour and I think 12-minute conversation with somebody who I was working on a project with, and we're going to continue this project, which is awesome. And Satoshi the Cyber Opera, which was one of my babies, and we put it on the shelf for a little bit. But he is such a cool person. He took it and he was like, "I'm going to go make this art and show everybody around the world." And because I'm, who I am, and I'm like the freaking tentacle, and I want to be involved in all these things and understand what's happening. Like, I know a lot of things that are going on in Bitcoin, value for value, the artist world, Wave Lake, podcasting 2.0, et cetera. And so I'm very, very plugged in to a degree, but I still am like, oh, I'm still a newbie. Right. And so there's always something for me to learn. But even though this person, is an artist and is a creative and wants to go see the world free because of Bitcoin, he still is having, all the stuff I told him about what's going on with the tech. He was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, we got to catch you up." And so, no matter who you are and where you are never going to know everything about Bitcoin. I don't care who the fuck you are. Satoshi doesn't even know everything about Bitcoin because Satoshi couldn't even imagine what we're doing with it right now with all this layer 2 stuff and lightning and what's going on with SAPs. And so, I mean, maybe you could, Satoshi, and if you could, God bless you. And wherever the heck you are, anyways, God bless you because you have brought us all together. Um, so what I want you guys to get, if you are an activist, if you care about the environment, if you care about nature, if you care about creativity, if you care about getting kids out of human trafficking situations, if you care about getting women out of domestic violence, if you care about, wow, the artist that I love has to go sit and sweep floors each week because she can't make it. But instead, I can go zap her over on Nostr. And instead of her making 0.00001% or 1 cent on Spotify for every play, I can send her Bitcoin micropayments and she can know that I'm the one that's sending them and not some just random hidden, statistic on a sheet that she only gets every 90 days from these centralized services. And so you're never going to know everything about Bitcoin, nor am I. And that's why it's so fascinating to me because it's like this, it's like a kaleidoscope, like just like my shirt, like, oh my God, where are these colors going from? So Bitcoin is a tool for freedom, and we need this now more than ever. And what I'm loving, I see uh, Chris from Rumble, they're starting to integrate Bitcoin payments into Rumble. I can't wait to see what they're going to do. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but Noster is the thing that y'all need to know about if you're a creator. It doesn't matter if you're a holistic life coach. It doesn't matter if you're a guitar player or a flute player or a podcaster or a comedian. If you want to have your content up and not have it censored, my content gets censored regularly. Apparently, YouTube doesn't think that the content that I talk about, and it's right now, if I say the word, I get, censored on YouTube because we're live streaming on YouTube, but it starts with, give me a V and an A and a C, C-I-N-E-S. Yeah, if I say those things, I get shut. And so wouldn't it be fun or interesting or cool if you could have a way to communicate with your audience, things that you know that you've done research on and you believe are true, and your audience gets to decide, yeah, fuck off. Yeah, cool, great. I like you, or I don't care. If you have a third party in there with all their censorship mechanisms, which is what we've had over the last however many decades, and certainly the last 10 years with Facebook and YouTube and everybody, and they're like machines going, she mentioned a word, I have to shut this down. Imagine what it would feel like for you to be able to talk to your audiences and not be fearful of saying a certain word that gets you shut down. That's what happens on X. That's what happens everywhere. And as much as I love Elon and I'm so grateful for Doge, yay. Okay, go and audit all of these ridiculous things. Did you guys know that they spent, I don't know, $1 million, 2 million, however many million on sending kitty cats to spas to see if their shedding for their little hair would be less because they're a spa. I could use that $1 million and I can tell you who fucking cares. Fuck your stupid cat. Okay. Go brush it. I mean, like, there are so many things that the US government um the had said, "Sure, we'll pay for that. We'll pay for that. Hey, guess what, taxpayer sucker? We're going to use your money." And then who even knows if those studies actually happened, but somebody got some money for that. So I can't wait for Elon Musk, and I love you, Elon Musk, uh, for going in and doing this little thing called an audit. Okay, and so the one thing that is beautiful about blockchain technology, and whether it's on the Bitcoin time chain, I call it, or another blockchain if you want to go play around, um, is transparency. You can see every little transaction and you can go, who did this? Where did it come from? Who issued the PO, the purchase order, and who authorized it, and where'd the money go? And then where'd the money go after that? And so if you do all of this on a Bitcoin standard, you can track these things. So a lot of people have this like little hilarious notion because you've been fed stuff through mainstream media that says, uh, Bitcoin's used by criminals. Bitcoin's used by the bad guys. It is an open source, transparent ledger. It is not a thing that you want to use if you're a criminal. It's a bad idea. It's a horrible idea because we can go look and see what you did. Sure, there's mixing things and protocols that you can play with, but for the most part, most people are not using that. And it is meant to be a transparent ledger so we can all go, cool. Val sent 1,000 sats to Roger 9000 because she loved his show. Roger's awesome. He's going to be one of my guests next week, right before Valentine's Day. I love you, Roger 9000. And so, they want you to believe it's a bad thing. But what's really been bad is obviously the fiat system. Okay. JP Morgan Chase has got more than, oh gosh, golly, by geez, I don't know the exact number, but I want to say at least 80 million, 80 million, $80 billion of fines. Not just the transaction that they did, but the fines. And so whoever's out there, I need a producer who can go, Val, no, it's 10 trillion, I'm working on it. I got a girl from the BBC who said, fuck you, BBC. So maybe she's going to come and be my producer one day. But dudes, I know I talk fast. I swear I don't take Adderall. I don't do any of that stuff. Coffee's my highest level of stimulant. And I am starting to take DHEA. So maybe that's it. They said if you take DHEA and coconut oil, it helps your testosterone a little bit. And so I'm a woman who's navigating menopause. And so I have to make sure I get my hormones right. And so anyway, so that's what I'm doing. But back to, the freedom chain, the truth chain, the love chain, the peace chain. That's what Bitcoin is. There is no second best. And so everybody out there who's trying to go, I'm going to go make another thing, it hasn't worked yet, and unfortunately people are getting completely wrecked. And for those of you who are out there in the gambling casinos, know that you're in a gambling casino. That's it. Just don't think that you're in, even the stock market is a gambling casino, guys. Like you're not in an environment that's like a building environment. You're in just a let's go throw some stuff on the table and say this, let's repackage it, let's turn it this way, let's call these things options, let's go this. It's like, it's all a fucking game. Okay. Until you're actually building something that's new that hasn't been created before, all you're doing is trading. And so great. Just know that you're playing a game and don't ever think that you're going to win. The house is always going to win over the long term. And so have fun. And if you get lucky, and if you're one of those guys who you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. Okay. And you never can your crypto when you're sitting at the table. There'll be a time enough to count. And when the shit coin is done. Okay. I don't even know where that came from. Kenny Rogers just like blasted in. So anyways, I love you guys so much. And I want to talk to you guys about a project that I'm working on. You want to hear about it? I'm working on a personal growth project and it's called the 11X Love Code. And I have some clients that have worked on this project with me and they're getting some wonderful results. I'm starting to open up a little bit of my calendar to people to do one-on-one work with. I remember when I first started this a couple years ago in the research mode, I was pretty resistant to doing any kind of coaching. Coaching to me felt like, who am I to be a coach? Who am I to help other people? Who am I to say, do this, do that kind of thing. And so it wasn't until I've spent the last, almost 9 years of my life navigating a giant fall apart and putting myself back together, and then getting another fall apart because just wanted to test to make sure you got this, um, and putting myself back together, which was extremely humbling. And I realized, wow. And after I went through a lot of different situations, working with different clients, going through different masterminds, different groups, I recognized, of course, I there is a need for this with people who are badasses, with people who are um, executives, people who are leaders, people who are change makers. And a lot of times when you're in that position, you never don't let anybody know that shit is hitting the fan and you're falling apart. It's don't tell anyone. No. And it's true. You don't want to let anybody know. And especially if you haven't had this happen in your life before, you feel extremely vulnerable. You feel extremely ashamed. You feel disempowered. You feel alone. And you don't think that anybody on planet Earth is ever going to understand you. Well, I do. So I created this 11x Love method and I do this 11x Love coaching. And the goal is to help people understand their life from a holistic lens and having love at the very middle, love, God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. When I went through this, you know, giant life crisis, that had come and gone, what I recognized was the problem was I was doing these different trainings, these different workshops, this different therapy, this different masterminds, etc., different certifications, and they were all awesome, so good, but none of them talked to each other. I'm doing the spiritual thing here. I'm doing the family thing here. I'm doing the sex thing over here. I'm doing the money thing over here. I'm doing the marketing thing here. I'm doing the health and wellness thing here. And it was just like, how the heck do I do them all? Um, and what I recognized was I need a system that all of the ingredients of my life talk to each other. And so I created this 11x Love code. And the idea was I had to reverse engineer my whole life because after my divorce, of course, the initial uh, uh, reaction was like, "Oh my god, it's all his fault. He's such a jerk. What a meh," and because I felt that way and I had victim mindset and victim mentality, and I used alcohol to escape, and it was just this like, and so I was not in a place of power, and so as I kept going through all of these programs, I started realizing like, I've really, really got to take personal accountability. Not just personal accountability, radical personal accountability. And no matter what, I had to look at all of these areas of my life and recognize where was I responsible for the fall apart. And and that took a lot of humility, because uh, I remember I was in rehab almost 9 years ago, and there was like this the what do you call it? The victim perpetrator. Uh, oh God, come on, old lady brain. Triangle, and it was just this like, oh gosh, if you forgive somebody, my mind, I thought like if I forgave anybody, then it meant that I was patting them on the head and telling them that it was okay that they fucked me over and hurt me, and it wasn't until I kept doing more of this work that I realized it was like, nobody's even fucking thinking about you, number one. Okay. And number two is if you keep thinking about a human or a person or a place or a thing or a system or a political figure or whoever, and every time you think about it, like your blood boils, you are injecting poison into your being. Who the fuck wants to live like that? I don't. And so once I kept realizing as I watched what happened to me in my vibration and how I thought and felt after I would think about a person, place, or thing, I realized I was like, oh gosh, I'm I'm using this resentment, and I think that I'm putting this like protective barrier up against myself. And actually, what I'm doing is I am putting myself in a hot tub of poison. And it wasn't until I had those realizations that I could start really, really uh, claiming massive ownership for my empowerment, for my healing, for my wellness, for my future. And again, that's why I created this program, this 11X Love Code, because I needed it. And I needed something where I could, again, reverse engineer the actions that I was taking on a daily basis that were poisoning my life. And so instead of looking at this one area of my life again and blaming, I had to look over at a couple other different areas and kind of go, oh, well, maybe this person was upset because I was doing this. And then I was spending my time here and I was over this way. Da, da, da. And of course, everything boiled down to me. And the beautiful thing about Bitcoin and Burning Man and spirituality is it all comes into this centerpiece of radical self-responsibility and radical love for self and other. And so like radical, not like, oh, I'm going to fake it till I make it. No, it's like love them anyway. Love yourself anyway. Um, it is so important that as we mature along the upward spiral of our consciousness evolution, that we can never blame another for our situation ever. And I was on a spaces today with Pubby, and it was, people were talking about this like radical self-responsibility. And so when you navigate consciousness evolution, when you navigate your mission and your purpose and your path on planet Earth, at first, we're in survival mode, right? Like you're a teenager, you're like, okay, I'm going to go work at McDonald's and get my, $10 an hour, and I'm going to go make a few bucks and put some gas in my car and pay the insurance, and off I go. Okay, cool. What's your next level of evolution? Okay, I'm going to make, $100,000 a year. I'm going to go work at a company. Great. I'm going to have an apartment. I'm going to pay some rent. Da, 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 da. Oh, look, I'm going to go have a wife or a husband. Great. Um, I'm going to, get some health insurance. We're going to buy a place. We're going to have some chickens. Awesome. Okay, cool. She's going to get pregnant. Super. No, it's the next, so you keep going from ultra small self to wider self with a partner, wider self with a family, wider self with society, wider self with the world, wider self with the universe. And so as we look at, we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, every time you're, a layer kind of gets, the color plugged in and you're like, yeah, I got that. Sweet. Let's go. You're going to keep rising up to that next level. And so as Bitcoiners and as spiritual seekers, I don't even like to say the word seekers, as spiritual practitioners, every time we kind of plug into the, trivial pursuit, where you get the little, cheeses of the colors and you're like, cool, I plugged it in. Yay, I went to the next level. Um, your your focus changes. It changes from internal to external. And so at first it was external because everybody's supposed to like feed you, and then you realize you've got the power to change yourself. But then it turns into this like, well, I'm full. I'm overflowing. I'm kicking so much ass. What can I do with all my ass kicking abilities? You know what I mean? And so when you have that much overflowing magic, your job, because you get this direct messaging from spirit, guide, universe, source, whatever you call it, that says, keep giving. I'm going to give you more because I can see that you are doing great with resource management. I can see that you care about making the world a better place. And so there's a phrase they always say, God never gives you more than you can handle, right? And if you're doing well at handling the resources and the gifts and the blessings that God is giving you, and I'm going to use the word God. So if you have a trigger with that, I apologize, but I don't apologize. It's just 3 letters. So figure out a different word. But it's just whatever. It's a great creative spirit source. You are going to get blessed with more so that you can be a great resource manager. I remember I was in a group. It was a sister mind group, we called it. And my girlfriend, Becky. And so she was the one who taught me this. And she was just like, I just want to be a resource director. She was just like, the only reason I want big amounts of money and resources and millions of dollars is like, I want to allocate it to good things, And I was like, yeah, dude, that's a great way to think about money. Because a lot of times, again, if you're if you're somebody who's adopted the starving artist mindset or whatever, you think like, oh, money's bad. I'm supposed to, push it away, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. Like, bring it, give it, get it. And then learn how to do something wonderful with it. Okay. So money is not a bad thing. And so I think there's a consciousness that we need to heal around money. There's a negative consciousness that artists and healers struggle with thinking that like, oh, money's the root of all evil. No, it's not. Money is literally just energy. And so it's what you do with that and how it gets to you and how you distribute it. And are you distributing it for good, Batman, or bad? And so Bitcoin is a tool for us to reshape our consciousness around what does money mean to you and what can you do with this money, what can you do with this freedom, what can you do with this tool. And it is so far over 16 years that it's been alive. It's alive. It has been something that keeps growing, gets more fortified, gets more solidified, and gets more trustworthy over time because it's just math. And so we've seen over 16 years, like how many different politicians have been in office over the different places in the world, right? Like we've had Democrats and Republicans in the United States. We've had all these other folks in different countries. Bitcoin don't give a fuck. It says, okay, cool. TikTok, next block, let's go. Every 10 minutes, I'm going to be putting a new block up here. And so that's something that has never, ever happened before. So no matter where you live, it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter what your lady or gentleman parts are. Bitcoin does not care. It is math. It's doing its thing. It is just, okay, energy put in Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. There's nobody that can show up. There's no CEO of Bitcoin. There's no person that can go, oops, we got to turn the time chain back about 14 hours because these transactions are a little weird. So we got to kind of go back and erase that. That's what all these bullshit crypto things do. If there is a CEO or anything that has a C or an E or an O or an anything of that nature, run to the hills unless you're excited about throwing some dice on the craps table. Bitcoin has no CEO. It is the truly decentralized way for us to account for energy and value transfer in the world. It's just a decentralized ledger. And so that's what makes it so powerful. And it's driven by consensus. And so everybody who's participating in the Bitcoin network is saying, yep, I agree with this math. And this is how we validate transactions. This is how we put things up on the blockchain, et cetera. And so, there's nobody that says you must do it this way. You don't have to go fork it, and which is a lot of what a lot of people did. Bitcoin Cash, all these people, and it's like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna go over here and make no. How many people are playing your new game? Basically, what's going on with Bitcoin is, it's like the rules of chess. If you play chess, I like to play chess. I'm not a good player. My son is definitely way better than me, and but I think it's cool, right? But like, never once have we sat and put our little pieces up on the chessboard. And one of us is like, well, the queens today don't have this much power. And all of a sudden today, the pawns do. That's not how it works. Like, these are the rules, and we're going to play chess. And him and I agree to play a game of chess with those rules, with those pieces on the board. What happens is, people come up and they look at the game of chess and they're like, well, let's go change it and let's go call it, chess 5.7 or something. And that's what happens with all these forks and crypto and all the stuff. To this day, February 3rd, 2025, not a single one of those new games has succeeded above and beyond Bitcoin. You know why? Because they're not better and they don't have network effect and the rules are stupid. And so you can go play the game, have fun, go play. But everybody comes back to chess. And that's what Bitcoin is. And so everybody agrees these are the rules that we like. We think it's great. We know what's happening. It's predictable. Let's play it. And that's what money should be. It should be predictable. What's not predictable right now is the way that fiat system works. The fiat system is, oh, look who's in office. Okay, look who's running the feds. Look who's running the central banks. Oh, we need to go print some money because we have COVID, blah, blah, blah. One of the reasons I got into Bitcoin was during COVID is, sitting around my pajamas and I'm like, okay, working on my 11x love coaching program. I love code and all that stuff. I'm like, I need to learn about maybe some trading and make some money. And my ex-husband was a trader and he made money and all this stuff. And he had hedge funds before we started our other company, A Lot of Capital. And I'm like, maybe I'll get back into that crypto thing. And I started researching it. And then I started realizing I read that there was a, what do you call it? A 40% money print. And I was like, okay, hold on. Get my little calculator out. Gotta make sure I understand what this means. So the Fed, decided that all of us suckers who hold cash or any form of fiat, you're going to go print 40% more and expand this thing called the money supply. And does that mean my purchasing power is the same? No, it means fuck you. It means you don't get to buy as many eggs as you used to. You don't get to buy as many chickens as you used to. Blah blah blah. Um, and I was looking at that math, and I'm like, 40%. Like, that seems kind of egregious, And it was true. They expanded our money supply that much, and so it took a little time for the markets to catch up with the inflation, but everything got more expensive. And everyone's like, yeah, look, my house value went up. No, it didn't. Your purchasing power went down for the dollars that you hold in your account. So what I think is fascinating is when people start to understand, there's this finite supply of stuff called Bitcoin, or there's this infinite supply of stuff called fiat, and you can just keep print, 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 print. Go Google the Weimar Republic and go see what happened in Germany. Look at what happened with our wars. When you steal from your citizens and you pull away their purchasing power because you have access, you and only you, to the money printer, and you force them with a gun to use your currency, you are creating a slave nation and you are stealing from people. Two out of two of those things I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of stealing. I'm not a fan of slavery. That's what the fiat system does to you. So for those of you listening, are you interested in being a slave? Are you interested in being stolen from? If those two things turn you off, and you want to get turned on, like going for a walk underneath the moonlight in Costa Rica, I love those, and get away from that awful system, start learning about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, yay. It is so, so important, you guys, because if you do not understand how you are being stolen from and manipulated, you are continually just going to be a little puppet on the end of the strings. And for those of you who are artists who like to say, get up, stand up, imagine, let's fucking go. Like, those are good words. These are great songs. This is like I said, I started out this whole episode with talking about, um, the hippies of the 60s and 70s and that generation. Imagine if they had the power of Bitcoin in addition to the words, because then you can truly, truly say, no, thank you. I opt out of your poisonous, toxic slave system, and I'm going to opt into freedom. And I'm going to opt into something that is peer to peer, that I do not need permission to send you a few units of account of my value to your value that we both agree are pretty cool, which is called sats or Bitcoin. Every time you put a middleman or a middle woman in between you and another person, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, whether it's Amazon, whether it's a bank, you are giving your power away to be an autonomous person. Do you want to live in that world? Do you need a daddy or a mommy or a nanny or an auntie or whoever it is to monitor what you do, to make sure that it's safe for you? Or are you an adult that can figure this out for yourself? If you need a nanny, mommy, baby, daddy, cool. Go to those countries. Those are called socialist countries. Have fun. I don't know. How are they doing so far? How are the people? What's their mental health? What's their welfare look like? Are they excited? Do they feel excited to be alive? I don't know a lot of socialist countries where people are like, fuck yeah, it's great. But if you do, send them over to me. I'm really a fan of freedom, and I don't like politics. I didn't even vote. And I didn't vote because I didn't want to have a conflict in my family, because I had people that I love dearly who were like, oh my God, if you don't vote for Kamala, you're evil. And if you vote for Trump, you're evil. I'm like, you know what? I already know who's going to win. I don't care. And it's good. But you need to make certain choices on your day-to-day life. Okay. And one of them is what kind of money you use. And so every single time you use fiat dollars, every single time you play with the SWIFT system, every single time you work in those rails, they're called rails, literally. They're like, shh, 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 we're going to go put the money here. It's going to go over here. Da, da, da. You've got stopping points on those rails, and they have the ability to say, fuck you. I don't like your podcast, Valerie Belove, and we're not going to let you send money over here to pay your electric bill because we think you said the word VACZINE. And they've shut your bank account down. Guess what happens if you use these rails over here called Bitcoin and Lightning? Guess. I'm asking you, guess. Tell me. Nobody has the ability at any of those points, from me going from me to you, to say, fuck you, Val. Which system makes more spiritual sense? Which system makes more mental sense? Which makes more like, I want that. Like, do you want to go live in nanny land where the hall monitor is always making sure that, like, do you have a hall pass to go pee pee? Do you have a hall pass? Show me your hall pass. You can't go pee pee without your hall pass. That's called fiat. Do you want to go over here and go, oh, look, you're a young child, like the Waldorf community or Montessori? You don't need a hall pass. If you have to use the restroom, you just get up and go. Like, we want you to be a responsible human. Which one do you want? Do you want hall pass pee pee? Or do you want adult? So Bitcoin is the mature way of navigating the world. So, like I said, at the beginning of this was going to be a magical Val's ranting on stuff, but it's not a rant. Okay, guys, like I'm people, I was at a dinner in Miami for New Year's Eve. I got to go to Michael Saylor's Holy Macaroni and Cheese, right? That was pretty cool. One of the gentlemen at the dinner, who was the gentleman who invited me, who was like my soul brother from ever. I love you. I'm not going to say who you are to keep your privacy. But we were talking, there was 6 of us, and we were talking about the hair on fire energy that some of us Bitcoiners have. And he's one of them. I'm one of them. And a couple of the other folks are, and 2 of the other folks weren't. And we were just like, wait, we've got a bucket of water. The world's on fire. We've got to give it to the world. Oh. And we're so passionate about sharing this message, and people who aren't Bitcoiners are just like, you guys are in a cult. You're kind of weird. What's going on? Like, go away. Stop talking about Bitcoin all the time. Everything leads down to the common denominator of the ability to transact your life's work with each other. Nobody on planet Earth is immune from that. There are a couple things that we all share. We share air, we share water, we share soil, and we share money. Okay? If you can't have something that is prosperous and organic, you're going to have something that's toxic and poisonous. And so, again, the system that we're dealing with right now is toxic and poisonous, and it's hurting us, it's hurting our neighbors, it's hurting, our community, it's hurting the larger community, and it's hurting the planet. And so when God, Spirit, Universe gifted you with something that is magic, that is Bitcoin, that is like the bucket of water, and you see a flaming earth, are you going to sit over in the corner and go, look at my water, I'm so stoked, I love my water, I'm going to have some water? Or are you going to be a higher evolved person and go, holy shit, my community's burning, I want to get this water to everybody, and it's abundant, and that's what we do. And so whoever's watching, I have no clue, it says 69 people are watching, so God bless you, because I love that number. It's a great number. When you have a solution for a problem, when you see people suffering and you see people suffering at scale, and you see your solution can solve problems at scale, your spiritual imperative is to help them. Your spiritual imperative is to help them. And so that's what I'm doing. And I will continue to do it. And I will continue to build the most beautiful relationships I've ever had in my whole life because of this. And unfortunately, there are other relationships that are suffering because of my commitment, my passion to this bucket of water. And I'm not going to ever, ever, ever stop. And I implore you, never stop. And I implore you, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not some person who's, knows cryptography. I don't know how to read a fucking chart from the heads to the tails, but I do know that I do actually. Okay. That's not true. I know a little charts, but I'm not that good at it. I certainly couldn't make one. Use your voice, get out there and get on that pedestal, be the crazy person standing on a bucket and tell everybody, because nobody wants sick neighbors. Nobody wants poor neighbors. Nobody wants angry neighbors. Like the more that like the people in your circle, whether they live in your home, whether they're your next door neighbors, whether they're the people on your block, whether the people in your city, like imagine, just let's play a game. We're going to do a little imagination experiment. Okay, here, just bear with me. I got to let it flow. Imagine the people in your house. Okay, imagine you. You're very, very sick. You're very, very negative. You're very, very down and depressed. The world is shit. Everybody sucks. It's just like, fuck this place, And you're in your like little center cocoon. And then the people who are in your house, they're dealing with you. they're starting to get a little negative too. They're starting to feel a little depressed. They're starting to feel a little poopy. They're starting to feel like, fuck, man, maybe this dude's right. Maybe the world's a piece of shit. Maybe let's get the fuck out of here, And then they go to work, but before they go to work, they're out in the yard. And then the next door neighbors are just like, hello. And you're like, yeah, fuck you, man. Pick up that, cup off of the lawn, and they just sort of treat each other like shit. And then it's just sort of this like, just like toxic thing. And then, so now your neighbor, and, your family member are all fucking going out in the world, and they're all like, bleh, nyeh, nyeh, nyeh. And you're just like in these grumpy piece of shit moods, and you're just like basically like, remember and for those of you who are old enough, the Peanuts gang Pigpen, right? He had that like little shit storm around him all the time because he was stinky and he never took a bath. What the fuck? Take a bath, dude. But he wasn't taking a spiritual bath. And so anyways, so it's like contagious and like all your gnarly shit. And so the three of these dudes go out, you're all in your three separate places, and now you've polluted and contaminated these other like little work office place and the gas station and the school and the PTO meeting. And everybody who's interacted with y'all are just like, this place sucks, And so you're just kind of like, meh. You're just like dealing with like fucking stinky oogie energy. And so that's just contagious. That's just contagious, right? And so who the heck wants to be around that guy? Nobody. And so it starts with you. And so what if you decided, I am going to sit here in my own little microcosm of me and turn into the human sparkler, the human sparkle fairy, the human love fairy. And then I'm going to turn into something that's joyful and magnetic and beautiful and peaceful. And then no matter what is going on around you, even if the loved ones that are in your life who are suffering are grumpy, even if people are treating you like shit, what if all you did was glow? Right? What if all you did was, okay, hold on a second. Let's put these on. We're going to do this. What if, I don't know, I think I like the blue ones better, but, oh no, hold on. Let me need these. What if you decided on a Monday afternoon at 3:00, you said, fuck yeah, let's go. What if that's what you did instead of looking at the world through the lens of fear and hate and scarcity and lack? What if you're like, what's up? I'm DJ Valerie Beloved. I'm the vibe goddess. Let's go. And then in the morning, you talk to your kids, you talk to your people, you went and helped the guy pick up the thing off of his lawn instead of telling him to do it himself. What if you high five the guy at the copier because you're in the office and he's just like, man, this thing's stuck. And you're like, I'll help you, bro. What's up? And you turned into like the fucking positive fairy. How's that going to go? And so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. Your action in this moment to become a love warrior, a love hacker, and somebody who wants to make the world a better place with your time, treasure, and talents is the most important thing you can ever do for your life. And it's the most important thing you can do for your safety, for your health, for your wealth. Okay? And so people think, oh, what difference is it going to make? It makes a huge difference. And I just demonstrated that for you. So what I want y'all to do, I do wish I could get these with my prescription because I can't see them. Every tiny micro action that you make matters. And so sometimes we have to make actions that are about self-care. Like my lips are dry, so I'm going to have some Burt's Bees. But your self-care will trickle out into your community. It's going to trickle out into your neighborhood and will trickle out into the city, the state, the nation that you live in, the world that you live in. And so I really, really implore you to do two things. Okay. I'm getting at the end of my thing here and I have another meeting. What is the number one thing you can do in this moment to create some more joy in your life? What is a joy practice that you can jump into and say, I'm going to go down to the local creek or boardwalk or something that has nature. I'm going to go listen to the birds, or I'm going to go, depending on what weather it is in your area, I'm going to touch some grass. I'm going to go do something. I'm going to listen to a song that makes me feel good. I'm going to text a friend a funny meme that tells them I love them. What can you do? What can you do right now that fills up your joy tank? Okay. And then number two, what can you do right now to learn about or share the message of freedom technology, freedom money, which is Bitcoin? What can you do? Do you have one thing, one person, one text you can make, one podcast you can listen to, one conversation you can have, one uh, um, tutorial you can watch from Ben from BTC Sessions? Love you, dude. You're the best. What can you do to go elevate your level of understanding? And what can you do to go support another person? And so those are two things I want you guys to think about. What can you do for your joy practice? And then what can you do for your Bitcoin practice? Okay. Um, Seriously, it's so important that you remember that your strength and your power being one domino in the giant domino chain of, when you see those, uh, um, you see these people who set these little fucking stadiums up or, gymnasiums up, and they've got this whole intricate thing of dominoes, right? And it's beautiful. And it literally takes one tiny little finger to go boop to the first domino. And then the whole motherfucker falls apart and it turns into this great art sculpture. And you're just like, oh my God, that's so cool. Guess what? You are the number one orange domino. And so you can be a pink domino, orange domino, I don't care, whatever color you are. But you're a domino and you matter. And what you do matters. Okay. And so think about your life that way. And I know for me personally, like, I'm not Joe Rogan. I don't have a million people listening to me yet, but I know that I get so much feedback for what I do and the magic that has is blessed to come through me and out of me to you. And I get people telling me like, oh my God, your podcast is the best and you changed my life and all these things. And I'm just like, really? And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, really, because you're listening and you're letting God go through you. And so God, spirit, universe, whatever. I don't want to offend anybody who doesn't like that word. Your voice matters. Use it. Okay. Use that beautiful gift. I think about, I say this all the time. So sorry if you're hearing me be repetitive, but I'm going to. If John Lennon, Bob Marley, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, if they all had Twitter, if they all had, or X, whatever we call it, sorry, Elon, if we all had Instagram, we all had YouTube, if they all had those things, what would they be doing with their voices and their message and their magic, dude? They'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go. And so they don't care. They would just be out there doing it. And so that's what I want you guys to be doing. Okay. Your voice matters. Your message matters. And, we're doing this monthly Bitcoin women's meetup. Oh, shoot. I should have it up here. Can I get it on my website? Okay, I got to put a thing up here, guys. But sorry, but you can go check out my coaching. Haha, TJ Val coaching. Um, we have 20 women that show up in a room, and we're like, yay, 20 women in a room, like physically show up, and we're stoked because we're like, dang, this is a good party. And when we're doing our the Denver Bitcoin Space Place thing, and there's like 50 people show up, and we're like, fuck yeah, there's 50 of us, this is great, like all of us are on the same mission. Don't get stuck on numbers, okay, guys, because a lot of people get stuck on thinking like, oh my god, I don't have a million followers and I don't have 100,000 likes, and who cares? Okay, if you literally have 20 people. Right now, I have 76 people watching. That's a lot of people. If I had 76 people at my house, that's a lot of people listening to my little voice. Um, and so never ever get stuck on the numbers. Get stuck on the impact, and get stuck on the fact that you never know who's going to be listening to you, who's going to wake up and go, I want to be that orange domino. I want to be the first domino with my audience, because I have an audience of 100 people or 10,000 people or 100,000 people or a million people or 10 million people. Okay. So never worry that like, just shush, get your messages out there and do the thing. Okay. And get on the mission. Let's go. I got to go. I got to get on a call. Love you guys. And that was a giant Fast Steady rant. And I hope it was informative and special. And I hope it gave you guys something to chew on and think about for how you can integrate freedom into your life, and why freedom is so, so, so important. And 2 weeks ago, oh God, when we were dealing with the inauguration and everything was going on with Ross Ulbricht, I was fucking uptight, because I don't know if any of you have ever spent 1 second in jail. It ain't where you want to be. Okay. And so, as somebody who spent literally only 18 hours, maybe 24, whatever, it was the worst experience I've ever had as a human being. And I was like, and this happened to me when I was, gosh, 29, I think, 28, 29 years old. Did some mushrooms, got arrested. I was walking, just the whole story, whatever. It's on another episode. But anyway, threw me in the drunk tank, as it were, but I wasn't drunk. I was on mushrooms. And the level of inhumanity that happens to people when they're incarcerated is unprecedented. And these people didn't know me. They didn't know my backstory. They didn't know why I was there. They didn't know anything. All they knew was I was an evil villain that needed to get treated like a dirty, toxic animal. Dirty, toxic animal. That's how they treat you when you're incarcerated. And so I wasn't in like a federal thing. It was literally this, the city drunk tank in San Diego. Again, wasn't drunk. I was on mushrooms. A whole other fun story. I don't know if I should share this right now or not. I do have 9 minutes. Fuck it. I'm sharing. So did a bunch of mushrooms. Did a bunch of mushrooms the weekend before, DJing, doing all this crazy shit. And I'm at, what is it called? 4th Avenue, 4th something. I don't know, whatever it was called in San Diego. And I only took a tiny bit. I was like, I'll just do a little tiny cap and a stem. And well, apparently, if you do mushrooms the weekend before, like a whole bunch of them, well, if you only do a tiny bit for my body, it reactivated everything and just crazy. And so I was dozing off at this place, and I wasn't even dozing off. I just had my eyes closed because I wanted to hear the music and not like look at all the shit around me. The fucking bouncer shows up. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm just chilling. I'm listening to the music." And he's like, "Nope, you're out." Fucking threw me on the street corner down at the middle of San Diego, and my friends are inside. I don't have my phone. I got nothing, and I'm like, "Shit." And all of a sudden I see this homeless dude sitting there, and there's like all these kids getting in line. They're all like looking all fancy, dressed up. And there's a homeless guy sitting there with his cup. And I'm just high as fuck, oops. And I was like, hey, you should have my credit card and my driver's license, dude. Maybe it'll help you get through life, like this is how the activation of those medicines were. And so I gave it to him, went to, walked away, goodbye. And, um, I was in an office building and I went up to the top floor of this office building in downtown San Diego. And I have this t-shirt on. It's got like rhinestones on it. It's just like, whatever, some stupid t-shirt. And it said, fuck the DJ. And I was like, oh, I love being naked. I'm just going to throw my t-shirt off over the top of the building. Not a good idea. So I'm literally alone at the top of this, office building in San Diego. And I threw this thing off, and I threw my bra over. So I'm just whatever. I'm like a dude at a beach, right? I'm like, who cares? I'm just this. And I go down and I recognize like, this is a bad idea, Val. Like, you need to go get that shirt. This is really stupid. So I went and got my shirt. And well, first I didn't find the shirt. I go down and I went to go get my shirt. And I'm literally at like, I don't even know where in downtown San Diego. And all of a sudden I see these like, 2, 3, I think it was 3 dudes showing up and they were smoking a joint. And I just looked at them. And of course I'm completely topless down in San Diego and I have boobs, I'm not like a dude. And they just looked at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, all right, gentlemen, let me tell you a story. I could tell you the truth or I could tell you a lie. What do you want? And they're like, truth. And I was like, I'm on a lot of mushrooms right now. And I thought it would be fun to be topless. And I made a mistake and I need some help finding my shirt. Could you please help me? And can I please have a hit of that joint? They just looked at me like, fuck yeah, sister, we got you. And they just helped me. We got my shirt on and we smoked a joint and it was super cool, And I mean, as somebody who's been sexually abused and raped and had very, very, very awful situations happen, like these gentlemen were very, very cool. And they were just, whatever. So anyways, so fast forward to, okay, I better get back to the club and go get my credit card and ID back from the homeless dude that I gave it to, and which I did. And he was very kind. And then I'm sitting on the corner and then all of a sudden the police show up, and it's like literally like, there's hundreds of people all over the place. And they're just like, we had a report of a woman with her shirt off. And we need to know if anybody knows anything about this. And of course I could just sit there and just shut the fuck up, which I should have done. But because I was so high and like, I mean, oh my God, you guys, the what we did the weekend prior in Vegas, it was ridiculous. It was like garbage bags full of mushrooms. But anyway, so it just crushed me. And I was like, oh, that was me, officer. Uh, what? um, and so I'm fucking like, okay, yeah, officer, that was me. And I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. And they're just like handcuffs, throw me in the back. They didn't even fucking care who the heck I was. Um, I mean, obviously retarded, ultra stupid move on my part. But again, when you're that like out of it and you are being, like hopeful for people to love the world and freedom. Yeah, that was dumb. And so anyway, it was just like the dumbest thing ever. But so they drove me around and I had to go to a couple different places until they got me to this place way the fuck out in like El Cajon or whatever, which is like an hour away. And I had to pee so bad. I thought I was going to die and pee my pants. And of course, like I don't know if you've ever been in the back seat of a police car. I never had, and I had never want to be, but they're all just like this. It's like a giant plastic hot tub. It's all just plastic awful, right? Because they know that people are shitting and peeing and throwing up and blood and all this crap. So it's easy to clean. So you're just in this like cold, sterile, gross environment. And so I'm sitting there in the back of the gosh darn car and I'm just like, fuck, you guys. I'm like, may I please use the bathroom? I have to go pee. And they're just like, nope. And I'm like, fuck, and I'm just like, fuck, I gotta pee, yeah, and dying, I thought I was gonna die. And there's 2 cops in the front. And I'm like, all right, well, might as well make the best of this because I'm fucking sitting here in the car and let's have a chat. And these guys are just like, we know what it's like to be you. And I said, no, you don't. And I said, have you ever done mushrooms? And of course, it was like full on good cop, bad cop, right? And so we've got good cop, bad cop. And, the good cop was just mostly quiet, right? Bad cop was like, yeah, I know exactly what it's like to do mushrooms. He's like, your blood pressure does this, your eyes dilate this way, and you start to think about things this way, and you blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, so are you speaking from experience or, like, so what was that like for you when you did mushrooms? He's like, oh, no, 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 no. I never did mushrooms. This is what the manual says. This is what the manual says. So I was like, okay, let's talk about orgasms. Let's talk about the manual about orgasms, shall we? And he was just like, huh? And of course, good cop's like fucking laughing his shit off over there, trying not to laugh. And I caught him, of course. And because we're talking about experiential learning here, with these beautiful police officers who I love, and I never want to defund the police. I love the police, give them money, but give them training and give them education and give them love, like, because they keep us safe. So God bless them. So, so good cop, bad cop, right? So I'm sitting there like dying. I'm like about to pee my pants. I literally feel like I'm going to die. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to keep talking because maybe I'll get my mind off of the fact that I'm going to like urinate myself in the back of a police car on mushrooms. And so, bad cop number 1, he was just like, oh, well, that's different. And I was like, no, it's not. I was like, let's talk about your orgasm, sir. Uh, because it's like a 40-minute drive. So we're having this long conversation. And, and I was like, let's talk about it, what it feels like. And like, I'm like, you've had an orgasm, right, sir? And he's like, yeah, I have. And I was like, so is it the same as what's in the textbooks? He's like, uh-uh. And I was like, I know. And so I was like, for you to sit there and, tell me that you know what I'm feeling right now with my like expanded consciousness, even though I got to pee and I'm in love and the world and freedom and let go of boundaries and such. Like for you to sit here and tell me that you have a clue of what I'm experiencing, do you think that's a fair argument? And he was just like, ugh. And of course, good cops over there just laughing his ass off still. Um, respectfully laughing his ass off. He wasn't trying to make his partner look like a jerk. Um, but it was just one of those things because like by the end of the car ride, and again, this was when I was like 28, 29, the 3 of us had an understanding that like until you actually experience something, you haven't experienced something. You haven't. And so I can give you guys charts and diagrams and cryptography numbers and all the things. I can tell you all those things, but until you've experienced an orgasm, you ain't going to know what it is. Yeah, it's just not. You're not. Until you've experienced dancing in unison with 2 people, 200 people, 2,000 people, 20,000 people, 200,000 people, 2 million people, 2 billion people. You are never gonna know what it feels like to rhythmically move in synchronicity with other humans, with love. And so don't ever think that you know more than the other person, because you don't. Okay. And so until you've had that life experience, get humble, stay humble, live in the humility zone. And as a Bitcoiner, as a DJ, as a Bitcoiner, Burning Man, healer, kind of weirdo person, uh, I am always on the lookout for something that is going to teach me something new. And not just on a piece of paper, but because I got to experience it. And so, what I implore you to do, like I said earlier, and so, so blah, blah, blah. I'll get to that part in a second. Just push pin that. So we get to the prison or jail, whatever. It wasn't prison, it was jail. I mean, whatever, it's fucking prison. Every single thing was cold and metallic and bleached. It smelled disgusting. It smelled like inhuman. And so the people who had to work there and smell that, oh my God, what an awful life, you know? And then the people who were incarcerated, fuck, what an awful life. And so I'm coming back to the Ross thing, I swear, and why I was so fucking hyped up 2 weeks ago. When you have to sit there as a beautiful human being, which I consider myself to be, and then they throw you into this cage that is unescapable. Ooh, it's February 3rd at 3:33. Yay. Hi, Make-A-Wish. And then you start to realize, oh my gosh, like if I don't say or do the things that are going to get me out of here, and if I'm actually honest, I'm going to be fucked, you know? And so I had to navigate a fucked up toxic system to play the game to get myself out. Because here's the deal. You can like do certain types of drug tests, and you can do, what do you call it, a breathalyzer. They can't test for mushrooms. Yay. And so it was just my word against theirs. And again, I was stupid. I shouldn't have said that on the curb, and I should just shut the fuck up. But I didn't. But anyways, I'm telling the story now. Imagine if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't have this ability to tell a story. So lesson and blessing, the love lab. What's your lesson and blessing? So I'm fucking telling the story because God wanted me to have that experience, to have empathy and compassion. And I remember, of course, because I'm still high as fuck, you know, and I'm in this like, you know, bleach cell thing, and there's, you know, a couple private areas where they would put people away because they were like, oh, you're misbehaving. But then they had the rest of us in this like little, the thing that you see in the movies where there's like, you know, 8 of us convicts hanging out in the area. And that was what was up. And one of the women was just, you know, probably my age right now. I don't know, 40s, 50s, whatever, just crying. She was so upset. And of course, I'm like, well, I'm fucking here. I got to pee. Yay. What are you crying about? Let's talk. Let me see if I can help you and support you and love you. And she was like, oh my gosh, I was drinking and I got arrested for a DUI. And here I am. I don't know how I'm going to tell my family, you know. And I was just like giving her a big old hug, you know, and trying to make her feel better. And because, like, why wouldn't you? Because you're stuck in this stinky ass bleach cell together. And I was like, don't you worry, sister. I'm like, you made a mistake and it's okay. Like, you're probably trying to feel better. And, you know, that happened. So I'm like, your family's going to love you. Don't worry. You're good. And it was just something that it was like, well, it's like that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song. I don't know if it's Young. Sorry, Neil. I don't know if you're on this one, but you know, if you can't be with the one you love with the one you're with. And so with that woman, like, of course I wanted to be out of that stupid jail cell and not in fucking prison, but she was there and I was there and she had a problem and I had love. And I was like, cool, I'm going to give you some love. And I think it helped her. I think it helps her feel less awful about her situation, you know? And then I was like, well, all right, who else is fucking struggling, So it just turned into this like counseling session where DJ Val turned into like the counselor and the coach. And that's what I do. Um, but what was really nice, it was just like, we all respected each other's humanity. We all respected each other's humanity. And I remember, because I don't know what the heck the legal requirements are and all that. And, hours are going by. And I was like, I want my phone call. Like, I need my phone call. Where's my phone call? And they're just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You don't get a phone call. And I'm like, I know I'm supposed to have a phone call, you guys. Like, that's what they show you in the movies and the TV thing. And the way that the guards treated me when I was asking for the thing that I believe was my legal right, which was to have a phone call, the way that they treated me, I would never even treat a poisonous, venomous bug on my deck that way. The way that they treated me was so horrifically poor and horrifically like inhumane. I mean, they didn't like hit me or anything, but they just treated me like that I was just like all the scum of the earth, and I had no dignity and no love and no integrity, and they just glopped me in with this like awfulness of who they thought was in those cages, those walls, And so the fact that God gave me that story, God gave me that gift and that lesson and blessing, it's given me so much more compassion for people who go through mistakes that land them in the arms of the law. And the reason why I was so upset last week, or 2 weeks ago, about Ross was because he had to go to solitary confinement several times. I I can't even imagine. I can't even. I never want to. I don't want my brain and my picture mechanism in here to think about that. And as a mother, I think about Lynn Ulbricht and what she had to go through and watch her son get completely tortured and dehumanized by this most fucked up system that doesn't want you to have freedom, that doesn't want you to transact with who you want, when you want, how you want, with what you want as adults, consenting adults, certainly not like children. Fuck that. No, we got to protect our babies. I'm an empath and I've felt it. And because I've been there, done that, I felt it. And so with Julian Assange, with Edward Snowden, with Ross Ulbricht, and anybody who has been victimized and tortured by the evil system that does not want you to be free, that wants itself to be empowered at the expense of your freedom. Yeah, that's why I'm a fucking warrior. Okay? And so the people who don't understand me, which are unfortunately some people in my my family, I want you to understand that's why. I never want people who are good people to be treated that way by a system. Unfortunately, I can't imagine what it's like if you're a what do you call it? A prison worker. Okay? If you're a prison worker, chances are you took the job because you thought, I'm going to be a corrections officer and I'm going to make a difference and I'm going to help people Or maybe you're like, yay, I'm the hall monitor and I got to go, I got to make sure people have their passes to go pee pee, like we talked about earlier. Whatever your reason is, most corrections officers suffer from mental health issues. You suffer from physical health issues, and you suffer from financial issues. And God bless you, because you think you're trying to go into a system and do something. But unfortunately, you're trained to do something else, which is called be an unhuman. And you're not made up for that. And so I offer you my heart and my compassion. Even the people who treated me like I was just this animal in a cage, like I never got mad at them. I never got like, "Ah, I can't blame you." It was just like, fuck, you're like an automaton, and like you're somebody who doesn't actually get to be the most beautiful version of yourself because you're stuck in this weird system. So when I talk about Bitcoin and freedom, when I talk about, why I'm so passionate about this, that's one of the reasons. It's because I got locked up and incarcerated, and it was literally for 24 hours or less, and I can't imagine what it's like if you're a freedom warrior, a love warrior, a peace warrior, a hope warrior, a people warrior, and you get locked up for more than that, and so people are so brave who put their lives on the line to speak out and to act out against tyranny, against injustice, against corruption, against lies, against fraud. And so, as we see what happens, unfortunately, with whistleblowers, they get, oopsie, I suicided myself. No, you didn't. We know what the fuck happened. The people who were controlling the strings didn't want you yapping. So here's the thing. It's February 3rd at 3:43 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I am not suicidal. I will never commit suicide. I have every intention of living till I'm 100 years old so that my children can see their great, great, great grandmother be a wonderful human to their great, great grandchildren. And so I am going to continue to speak the truth. I am continuing to invite you and, of course, myself to dig deeper. Whitney Webb. If you do not know who Whitney Webb is, get the fucking Google out and get her books. One Nation Under Blackmail. She's got 2 volumes. I've only gotten through probably 60% of the first volume. They're literally like massive. And however her brain works, she knows how to connect the dots between corrupt, incentive, blackmail for decades. Okay. And so if you're interested in understanding how the world works and you don't want to just go, ha ha ha, look, CNN tells me what's going on. Like, check out Whitney Webb, hands down. And I'm sure tons of more investigative journalists that are at her caliber, but she is somebody who bravely discovers and uncovers and reveals what's going on. And the stuff with Epstein and the Mossad and everybody, I'm just like, oh, what? And so it's real, you guys. We are not conspiracy theorists. We're actually truth theorists. And so anybody who uh, wants to go play that game, the people who call bullshit on conspiracy theorists, guess who they are? They're the ones who don't want to get uncovered. So fuck you. And so uh, I'm not suicidal. And so if you find me over a bridge or overdosed or anything, just know that it wasn't me. It wasn't me, baby. I'm like fucking here to live. Let's go. Uh, and we're going to keep dropping lots of truth bombs. And so good luck with all of you. And I'm so grateful for Elon, and I don't think I said this earlier, and I was going to tangent it, but so Elon, right? We know our buddy Elon. I made a post the other day because Elon's doing obviously Doge. We've got Doge, and yay, Department of Governmental Efficiency. Haha, isn't it cute that it goes with Dogecoin and the dog, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? The shit that they've been uncovering over the last 72 hours, you know, should be uncovered and should always be like open and revealed and available, right? Like I said, the whatever, the cat's going to the spa to see if they shed more or less. Like, fuck you. Um, there was a woman who reached out to me after I said, "Yay, Elon, go." I'm like, "We don't have to agree on everything, but I'm really glad that you're like wanting to audit things and at least just put transparency out there." This woman who I, hadn't met in person, of course, and she's an advocate for children's rights. She's an advocate for domestic violence and all the stuff that I'm like, "Yay, great, we're going to be good friends," And I was grateful to uh, have a potential new ally in my world, certainly here in Colorado. And she was going to start coming down to the space and the women's meetups that we do in Denver. Yay, Denver Space Women's Meetup, second Tuesday of every month. She was like, "I can't associate myself with you. How can you like Elon because of the way that he treated women and the way that Trump treated women and blah, blah, blah." Just this little like barf on me. And I'm just like, dude, I don't even fucking know you. Okay. First of all. Second of all, like, who do you know on planet Earth? Anyone who's done everything right? I haven't. I'm a fucking shit show. And so if everybody judged me by my past and was like, "Oh, Val fucked up back in 2014, fuck her," there's no way I would have a friend in my life, because I'm just a stupid human. And so this cancel culture bullshit, and this like, "Nah," it's shut the fuck up, okay? And so I have been raped, I have been abused, I have been hurt, and you know what? I'm a happy woman, and I don't need to like go vilify other people who've made mistakes. And there's people even in my life who I've forgiven and I love them because they have, righted their wrongs and I'm given them grace because of such. And I'm grateful because they've given me grace too. And so to sit and say, "I'm going to cancel you, Val, and I don't want to be your friend because this," it's just like, you know what? I'm so sorry, but go back in your little hole and go be alone. Okay. And I love you. I really do. I love you. And I'm going to put some fucking sprinkles in your hole. But like, I am grateful that there is somebody who's got testosterone, couple people who've got testosterone who are fucking taking charge of the reins and going, "Guess what, motherfuckers? Like, let's open the books. Let's open the gosh darn books and look at where the money is going. And oh, by the way, who the fuck is signing the purchase orders for these money?" And so if you're not willing to do that, which is definitely not what happened in the last administration, you're a fucking pussy. Okay. And so every single transaction should be on the ledger of public accountability, whatever that ledger looks like, whether we use a Bitcoin ledger, whether we use fucking Excel spreadsheets, I don't care. But like, we should not have hidden transactions and we should not have money going to the Catholic charities that say, "Oh, cool, we're going to put money towards immigration. And all of a sudden, we're going to pull these fucking fentanyl dealers in here." Fuck you. Fuck fentanyl. I've got 2 dead people in my life because of that. Okay. And because they were like, "We need to have DEI. Blah, blah, blah." No, DEI equals DIE. Okay. DEI equals DIE. And so fuck you and fuck all of your bullshit. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be super nice. And so a lot of people are like, "Well, you're supposed to put sprinkle stuff on." Here's your sprinkle stuff. And here's what's this thing called tough love. Okay. I had a girlfriend that I had to break up with, not my girlfriend, like sex girlfriend, but a friend. Um, she's like, "Val, you're just supposed to be like super special and sweet and loving all the time. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you letting anger get into the way? Why are you doing this?" And I was like, "Because that's a natural emotion and it's honest and it's authentic and that's how I feel. Like, I'm very angry and upset and frustrated. And I'm also very hopeful and very sparkly. Like, why would I try to pretend that I'm only one?" You know? And a lot of people, in this person, and I love her very much from afar, she had a child who was, I want to say this the right way. He had a lot of energy. Let's put it that way. He had a lot of energy. This child had so much energy that sometimes it would be very difficult to navigate in social situations. And so when there were a variety of us in these social situations, and I'm not going to say who the variety is, but it would impact the whole group. And instead of encouraging this young person who had so much energy to, you know, uh, learn how to be a master of this wonderful energy, which is so wonderful, she would just let it go fucking wild, and it would ruin every situation that we were in all the time, every time. And it was one of those unfortunate parenting moments, because it was like, gosh, are we supposed to just let this kid run around and like smash things that are, beautiful, which is called peace and serenity and everybody else? Or are we supposed to like intervene and kind of be these, it takes a village sort of thing? And so it turned into this nonstop uh, village experience with this woman and her child, and it's frustrating because there's a sense of entitlement that comes along with that, because when you have this sense of like, isn't it cute, he's expressing himself. I'm like, good, let him express himself, but not at the expense of everyone around, and so that's what's happened with our culture. Oh god, I gotta get on this call. um I literally have 7 minutes. But that's what happened with has happened with the culture, is we've had the entitlement of self-expression at the expense of everybody around us. And that's wokeism, and that's a woke culture. And so if you think that your right to express yourself is okay, and it starts to kind of impede on everyone else and their peace, like, you might want to rethink that a little bit, and just sort of think about, okay, I look at it like this, and this is so great, just came to me, thanks God. Does anybody know what a mosh pit is? Hey, mosh pit. Obviously, it's a DJ. I don't really DJ the kind of music that involves mosh pitting, but it's happened, and I jumped into that shit because it's fucking cool. But it's like very short and temporary. Imagine social settings where mosh pits were just kind of how things go, right? And it's just like, fuck yeah, let's go. And there's people who are actually trying to have like conversations, or, "Yeah, we like this song. It's so pretty." And then all of a sudden this fucking retard shows up and his fucking foot's in your face with his giant boot, and you're just like, "What?" And that's to me what wokeism is. Wokeism is like a mosh pit of entitlement. Of, you think, well, we're all here, so let's just do it. Okay. No, fuck off. And so I would encourage those of you who think that mosh pitting is, I mean, if you're in a place where it's like a designated mosh pit, go ahead. Go fucking go. It's like being in a jumpy castle. If you're in a jumpy castle, fucking jump the shit out of that joint. Do some flips, hit the side of the wall, go nuts. Like, that that environment is designed for you to be jumping and doing the whole thing. But if you're in like a civil room where you're eating some nachos or perhaps having a conversation over coffee, like, your mosh pit behavior isn't welcome, and unfortunately, I think that's sort of where, uh, again, this wokeism nonsense comes in. It's like, you must call me this name and you have to do the thing. Like, no, Absolutely not. Go in the jumpy castle and go party. Like, we want you to express yourself, but you don't get to come over here and kick us with your military boot in the face. And so, again, freedom, love it, big fan, want it every day. And there's a way to go about it in a civilized and respectful and courteous way. And so, what I'm hoping for, it's only fucking February 3rd. It's going to be a fucking crazy month, you guys. I swear. It's really like, it's going to be nuts. It's literally going to be nuts. Like, this is nothing. Like those little protests you saw yesterday in the LA freeway on the 101, nothing. Like, they're going to start doing these things all over the place, and they're all funded by, oh, hi, George Soros. What's up? Go fuck yourself. I'm really, really interested in seeing how light workers and people who are on the love mission behave. And as tempting as it is, and I know that I love getting into the little, let's just fucking make a funny, sarcastic comment. It doesn't actually move the mission further. And so I'm going to do my best. I can't promise that I'm going to do it right or always. But I'm going to do my best not to be a hostile shit poster, but I probably will sometimes still. But so coming back to Ross and coming back to freedom and coming back to humanizing each other, like the people who are protesting right now, as much as I'm like, "Meh, you need to follow the rules and you should be here legally and blah, 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 blah." I don't care who you are. If you came to our country legally or illegally, you had a reason. You had a reason either because you're fleeing something that's awful or because your loved ones are here. One of those two things. Pretty much the only reason. I never want to break up a family. That would be awful, right? Who the heck wants to break up a family? But at the same time, if that family showed up at my front door, broke in, and took over my son's room and was like, "Yeah, this is my house," I'd be like, "This ain't your motherfucking house. Like, you need to come in and sign a rental application and pay some rent." Um, it's a very, very challenging situation. And so what I would encourage everybody to do who might be getting, get away, like, think about what it must feel like for people who weren't born here in the United States. I'm using this as my example. Think about what it must feel like to think about their future and to think about the hopes and dreams that they actually want to have, but they don't know if they can have because they're living in a veil of secrecy. And so I want every single rapist, pedophile, murderer, as far as I'm concerned, get them off the fucking planet. Not get them out of the country, get them off the planet. I said it. There you go. Let God deal with them. Like, why the fuck spend resources on these people? If you killed somebody on purpose, if you raped somebody on purpose, if you hurt a child on purpose, bye-bye. Goodbye. Like, you didn't understand the rules of the game. You get to leave. Goodbye. Like, you don't get to go to another place on the earth. Get the fuck off of planet Earth. And so, number one, I'm sorry if you're not a death penalty person, but I am. I'm 100% the death penalty. And I'm 100% like, don't waste your money on these people. They will never be reformed. It's one thing if you accidentally did something and there was a negative consequence. Okay, let's reform you and figure this out. But if you were purposefully trying to hurt people, like, oh, the dude who's like driving his shit through New Orleans, killing people, get the fuck out of here. Bye. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, it's just math, right? It's like, goodbye. I look at like some humans are like tumors. They're like tumors. you have an organism that wants to live and wants to thrive, right? If you know that you've got this little whatever the fuck, this little this little tumor, and then all of a sudden it starts like and it starts getting bigger, like, are you gonna go, "Hi, like, should we meditate on this now?" Or you're like, "Get the fuck out of here, like, get out of here so the organism can live." No, you're gonna fucking get in there, a scalpel and get rid of it. And that's what we should do to these people. Like, if you were a pedophile, first of all, delete, 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 get the fuck off of Earth. Like, no, nothing. You get 0 chances. Like, if you did that to a child, you get to be deleted. Goodbye. If you're a murderer, if you purposefully killed somebody, goodbye, fuck off. You don't get to live here anymore. Like, it's pretty simple. Why the fuck is everybody so like, no, you're not going to reform. These people need to go to God, go to heaven, go to wherever the fuck it's called that people think you go after you die, and go get regurgitated with some love and come back and try it again. But stop getting to play in the game. Like, you were poison, toxic, evil. Get the fuck out. And that's it. I really think that those people should be gone. But people who are genuinely uh, struggling and suffering because like their government sucked and they had to like, oh fuck, I got to get across this little thing called the border, which is an imaginary line on dirt that some humans made, and I'm going to go over here because I want to be with my family. Like, how do we, as compassionate, loving humans, figure out a way to help those folks? If you come over here and all you want to do is sell fentanyl and kill people and rob them, I don't think you should be deported. I think you should be killed. And that's it. Go fuck yourself. So, but everyone else, it's like, how can we make you a part of our world? It's a tough one, and I know these, uh, whatever, the press secretary, she's like, oh, if you're here and it's illegal, you're a criminal. It's like, yeah. And each case is different. Each case is different. And so that's why I empathize with people who are protesting. I empathize with people who are unfortunately like having to shut their businesses down. And it's like, it's a tough one. But I also agree, like, I'm not opening up my front door and just letting all the mosquitoes and the bugs and the people and the things and the critters in. Like, I have a door. You can come in when I say you can. And so there's both of those things that are important to understand. And so thank God we've got a president who's got testosterone and not fucking Alzheimer's medication. And I'm sorry, but like, I cannot wait for all the shit to come out with Joe Biden because he was not competent and uh, and he was incontinent, as we all know. Sorry, dude, but the diapers, really? Look it up. Um, it's nice to have a man. It's nice to have some masculinity around. And it's nice to have a man who says, if you were born with a penis, you don't get to go in the ladies' restrooms. And you don't get to go into the locker rooms. And you don't get to play in their sports. So fuck you guys who think like dudes who were born with dicks should go play sports with women. Mm-mm. If you want to go have like a little trans thing, go make a separate club. I support you, but you don't get to play with us. Okay? We have vaginas, we bleed, and we can give birth. You can't. So you shouldn't be in our bathrooms, you shouldn't be in our locker rooms, and you shouldn't be playing our fucking sports. Okay? And so God bless the fact that we have an actual man in office. Okay? Joe Biden was not a man, and I never would vote for a woman because she's a woman. I would vote for a woman because she's capable. And so, again, I'm not a politically oriented human. I am what do you call it? An issues oriented person. And so I think like pay attention to the fucking issues and pay attention to who's going to get the job done. And so I think, yay, Elon. And I'm sorry, this person who doesn't want to be my friend anymore because I support Elon, like I support men who have the balls to go get shit done and not be afraid of their little politically correct stuff. And they're just like, look, here's some numbers. We're going to audit it. Oh gosh. You spent $1 million on kitty cats going to a spa to see if they shed fur more? Really? That's what you want to support? Fuck off. So anyway, I love you. We're at 108 and it's time to go. I got to get on this call. I love you guys. And let me know if there's anything I can do to help you and support you. I needed to get this energy out. Sometimes I do DJ sets and I'm like, yeah, let's play some music. And today I needed to talk. And I needed to talk and not get interrupted like I do on crypto Twitter spaces, not Bitcoin Twitter spaces, because the guys are amazing and gentlemanly, and certainly the women are too. But I needed to kind of just do some self-expression. So if anybody heard this and you got some value from it, I hope so. So anyways, God bless. And that's it. I love you guys. If you're going through some trouble, if you need some help, I'm here. I only have room literally for 3 people a month to be clients. Peace, love, and more aloha.